Welcome back everybody to Rikers Island ICND2 training course. In this video, we're going to dig into SPAN and RSPAN. Now, SPAN stands for Switch Port Analyzer, and it is designed to copy traffic from the VLAN or interface to an interface for analysis. That's really what it does. And beyond that, there's actually two forms that we're going to take a look at here. I'm not actually going to be able to demonstrate how SPAN works because the moment you configure a port to be a SPAN port, it no longer is going to send and receive data. So it only accepts data. So it'll basically turns the port into a monitor port. So it's no bueno if you're connecting it to a device that you actually need to have access to. So with that being said, it doesn't bode well for me to demonstrate it. I'll show you the configuration on a switch just so you guys can see how that works. But beyond that, there's really not a whole lot to it. RSPAN is doing the exact same thing, except for you're trying to capture data on a remote switch that you're not directly connected to, and you want to copy that data from where that remote switch to the local switch, so you don't have to physically go somewhere. You can have that data come to you. So to create a remote SPAN, I'm going to go ahead and just pull up my home switch real quick, the one that I just did in the previous video, and go ahead and just log into this guy. And if you go to global config, let me do a do show interface status real quick to see which ports are used and which ones are not, because I don't want to goof up a port that's good. So I'll say that I'm going to capture VLAN 1 and I'll pump it to gig 0/2020. So monitor session 1, I'm going to say the source is VLAN 1 and the destination is going to be interface gig 1/0/20. That's it. Literally that's all you have to do. That's a SPAN though. Do show interface status. You'll see that now 20 will be a monitor port, but it'll only become a monitor port once you actually connect the traffic to it. So for instance, if we do a do show CDP neighbors, I should have, let's go do this to 24. So 24 do show interface trunk real quick. That's odd. Do show spanning tree VLAN 1. Oh, this is the 23, they're both up. I've only got one VLAN, so do show VLAN brief. I've got one VLAN created. So what I can do is, I believe it is on the remote side. Home switch. This is my other switch, and do a show interface trunk. Show spanning tree VLAN 1, and 24 is the alternate port. So what I'll be able to do here is I can go and on here I could create a remote SPAN. When you do that, you would simply come up here and type in monitor session 1, and you would say the destination is a remote VLAN, and then the VLAN you're going to be sending the data across, and you could say VLAN 2 or VLAN 2, and then the reflector port is going to be gigabit some value. So on the remote end, you create a VLAN that you want to capture the traffic on, and then that VLAN, whatever you specify as the RSPAN VLAN, you're going to take that data, and only that VLAN will copy RSPAN data. So that RSPAN data is going to come across the trunk link from the remote switch to the local switch that you're physically plugged into, and then it will be delivered to the local switch on VLAN, whatever VLAN you created. So if you create VLAN 2 on the local switch, you'll have to create VLAN 2 on the remote switch. And then as traffic comes from the remote switch to the local switch, it'll be delivered to VLAN 2, and then whatever you configure as the destination port. So you're capturing data on a remote port or VLAN on the remote switch, taking that data, sending it across the wire inside, in this case, VLAN 2, and then when the traffic comes in on the local switch, you're going to be putting that into VLAN 2, and then you can send it out to an interface. You plug your laptop or collection station interface into that port, turn Wireshark on, and let the good times roll. That's really what SPAN and RSPAN do. I work a lot with SPAN, especially in production, because a lot of the devices, especially security, like SPAN, because then they can take a look at traffic in real time and go from there on it. So it gives you a lot of flexibility from that respect. But that's SPAN and RSPAN. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it than that. Play around with it. Just remember that if you create a SPAN session, and I did this just to test out my theory. If I created I have a Windows PC that I have configured to, it's a file server, and that file server, if I set the port that I would use to connect to that server on as a destination port, I lose connectivity to that device. And the reason for that is because the port that you have set as the destination interface is no longer able to send and receive data. All it does is receive data. So it would actually take down that interface and make that device unreachable. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're doing that. Until next time, guys, thank you for your time and your support. And until next time, we'll catch you later.